Oh, we're actually getting sound this time. Hooray. So yes, I was streaming for a couple of seconds ago, but yeah, apparently whenever I unplug my headset and plug it back in again, it defaults to a different input, which doesn't work. So yeah, fun times. Good job I happened to glance at ops. Anyway, as I was saying beforehand, what I want to do this evening is refactor my toggles controller because it is doing too much stuff in general. And to fix that, we are going to split it into a bunch of different controllers. Like I think one for the name, or one for the general toggle information, and one for the state, and one for the tags. But this is also because we've got routes for getting things by ID, so state here, and we've also got the same thing for name. The only difference is this and how we actually get toggles. Now, I want to refactor this as well. So with luck, I'm going to be able to do all of it at once. Yeah, I don't know how MVC handles if you have two controllers called the same thing, both providing routes, even if they've got different routes beneath them. Yeah, no idea if that'll actually work or not. So let's try it in the simplest way we can, which is to create another class called, say, toggle test controller, which is also a controller. And we will make this have the toggles route. So, and just to prove that this is working, we're going to hardcode this. The same thing. And I think ops is not doing what I want. Stream. Change the bitrate on it. Advanced. Maybe. Oh, video bitrate. Okay, no, it's fine. Getting a lot of buffering happening is all. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is create a method on here, which is going to just be a get method. So HTTP get. I also learned the other day you can specify the route in here, I believe. At least I thought you could. That's an empty string. I'd like to know what the overloads are. String name. String template. So let's say this is called test. Public. Async. No, let's not make it async. There's no point. I action result. Get test. And we'll just do return new JSON result. New object message equals test. Right, so when we do a get, we should get this one running, and when we do a get to /test, we should get this method running. If we don't, of course, it means that ASP.NET isn't very happy about having two classes providing the same base route, which it might not be happy with. We shall see. And while that builds, I'm going to destroy even more of my CPU by trying to start other programs. I've learned not to try and launch Atom while builds are running, because that doesn't go well. Test service. Right. So if we do a get to /toggles, this should be our toggles controller. Yep, so we got an empty array back, which is what we're expecting. Now if we go to toggle/test, yeah, so we can have multiple classes being the same thing. I'm getting a lot of advertisements appearing on my stream this evening. I don't even know how to switch them off. Well, I hope everyone can still see this. Weird. So, now that we've got this ability, we can make ourselves actually have some decent controllers. So this is just going to be our let's do tags. So we'll call this a toggle tags controller. We're going to leave this hard-coded as toggles because the name is going to be different for each one of these. And now we shall go down to here and find all the methods deal with tags. So that's our get, our put, and our delete by ID. And we actually need to re-implement these name ones, so I'm just going to delete them for the time being. Because I had an idea when I was in the sauna earlier about how to implement getting tags by name. Sorry, getting toggles by name and by ID without having lots of if statements splattered everywhere. So I'm going to try that later. Now we just need a constructor, and I wish it would leave the cursor here rather than in the body. Oh well. iMediator. Introduce field. Right. Let's move that into its own file. Right, so we now have get by ID, by name, and deletion for tags. So let's build that and check that still works. We might break some tests. I can't remember if any hit the controller directly for this. I think they do. Yep, tests will break. Get toggle test. Weird, why is that one? Oh, symbol post. Well, you can. So I don't recall deleting a post method off that. Maybe I did. Let's go and have a look at Git. That's the wrong project. Git tags by name. Tags. Yes, I accidentally moved the post as well. That was silly of me. Toggle tags controller. Yep. I don't want to undo it, I just want to put the text back. Or I'll just grab it out of Git. Let's just leave it at the bottom, I guess. Now, apparently, Rider can do multi-selection somehow. But I don't know how. I'll just do this instead. And those two as well. Right. That should remove some of the build errors at least. And then we should just have the couple left for renaming which controller they're looking at for our tag methods. There we go. Get tags, get tags, get tags, yep. So what I'm going to do is see if I can make this generic. Not as such. And unfortunately, if I make it generic and then implement a method to return this controller each time, I might as well not have the base class. Because I'm not doing anything specific in it, really. So for this one, for the time being, we shall do this. Just remove usage of the base class. And dump these in here. That's not what I wanted it to do. Let's call it underscore mediator and underscore controller. Read only. Still getting used to this new keyboard, hence why there's random hash symbols and slashes in places. Field controller. Read only. Right, so now we've got that. Do this. Right, hopefully the search in this... Wow, that really doesn't like high DPI. Let's do that. Mediator. Replace. There's definitely more than just one. Oh. Yep. Right. And same for controller. Yes. Right, and now what we need to do is change the type of controller to be toggle tag controller. Same there. Ah yes, and I removed the by name for the time being. I've had an idea to make that much better. So because I'm going to re-add it, hopefully this evening, we'll leave it just commented out for the time being. Now, if I'm right, that should be all we need to do to separate our controller out. Wow, we're being speedy this evening. There we go. Right, let's run all of those tests. Oh, that's nice, all passed. Right, let's just check what we did. Back to some tests. Add some bad white space. Let's fix the white space. Toggle tags controller. Good. So we'll just say toggles controller, extract tags methods separate controller. Right, now let's go back to our toggles controller. And these state methods are all going to have to change because they're not very restful. And the delete state is expecting a parameter from the body, which is not technically allowed. That's not allowed at all in the HTTP spec. You can do it, but you shouldn't provide a request body with a delete method, which I didn't know until after I'd implemented it, annoyingly. But hey, so public class toggle state controller, which is a controller, has these methods in it, has a constructor that takes in the mediator again, and should probably provide a root as well. Toggles. Right, and move that to its own file. And let's fix its test. Did I move something else that I'm not supposed to again? Name state, ID state, ID state, ID state. No. Oh no, those are all state ones. Okay. Definitely don't want to make that sharing. The easy way to do it would actually be this. Toggle state controller tests. That's a constructor. And the difference is this will get used to that control key eventually. Toggle state controller. Do that there. And then just take that and dump it in here. And here. And here. Should be all of them, I think. Not sure why builds have got so slow all of a sudden. And the fact that this rest progress bar is not very large. Excellent, build succeeded. So hopefully all these tests still pass. While that's happening, I'm just going to check how much bad white space I've introduced. Oh, only a little bit. Right in the base class, right. It says that there's... Because I changed the file. No, it's just being slow. One more. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Let's do that. So again, we've just moved all the methods out. So I would cheat and use the same commit message from last time, except this is state methods. Right, now that that's bits out of the way, so our toggle controller is a bit smaller, now get on with the fun stuff. Which I think is going to be refactoring how we look up toggles by name. Because I don't like the fact that we've got an identical request for name and ID. The only difference is this parameter type here and here. It gets worse when we look at every handler. So let's see, this is get single. There's this handler and it's got two request types, which basically do the same thing and have a little bit of how to pick the toggle out. So while I was sitting in the sauna and thinking about this, because although I'm streaming all development of this, I am thinking about this a lot. I thought a nice idea might be to use, to attempt to use pattern matching and the type system to get around this. So to that end, my idea was to make a class called a toggle locator. So if we just knock out a class for this. Now, this class is going to have a method on it called. Actually, let's not put the method on there. We're going to use interfaces and inheritance and everything to make this work. So we'll make this abstract. I think. Yeah. But we'll give it a factory method on it. So we'll have public static toggle locator create. Now we'll use this because we can then use method overloading to pick the right value. So this is going to be toggle ID. It's going to return. Actually, need to name the parameter. That would help. This is going to return a new toggle by ID locator. ID. And then we're going to have the same thing again. And this time it's going to take in a string, which will be the name of the toggle instead. Toggle by name locator. Right, so now we've got these. We'll use ReSharper to generate our classes. Yes, yes, we'll expand the name of that. And yeah, we'll leave that throwing a not implemented exception for the time being. Yep, toggle name. Right, so we've not gained anything so far. Now, I was going to use an interface to hide a method so that things outside this assembly don't need to know about the next method, which is going to be, but instead I just realized I could just mark it internal and then nothing can see it anyway. So this is an internal toggle locate. Now this takes in an I session, an I storage session. And is also going to be abstract. Right, so implement missing members, leave that throwing for the time being. So the idea is we will store this as a field, and then in here just assume the session is open because something else will take care of that, and we'll say var let's just do return session load. How did we load them before? Get toggle handler. Oh, we use the all toggles projection. Yep, that makes sense. So we'll do load projection toggles. Now we could actually, because they're both going to use the same projection, we could refactor it not to depend on the session, to depend on the view itself. Might do that. Now, what's your problem? Yes. So then we do toggles, single or default, TV, so toggle view, ID equals underscore toggle ID. is it? No, this is not going to work for what I want. Let's look at an update state one. Get the toggle by ID here. But we don't have any that update by name yet. That will be a pain to implement, because we can only fetch toggles by name. So no, in fact, we do need to depend on this. So we need an actual toggle back from this. So let's do var view equals that. Actually, this one is by ID, so we can do the simple for this one. Load toggle, load aggregate toggle, and that just takes a toggle ID in. Right, that was the easy one. This is the fun one. So var all toggles equals session dot load projection all toggles. Actually want the toggles, and then we say return all toggles single or default. No, we don't. We say var ID equals all toggles single or default t name. I have an extension method for equals ignore. No, well, do that. Probably would help if toggle name was stored somewhere. Probably don't want to throw an exception there. Call that view. And then we'll say if view was null, return null. Otherwise, return session dot load aggregate toggle, and we will use the views toggle ID for that. I'm going to invert that to start with, and then do that, and then do that, and that. Right. So now that we've got this, which can only be used inside the assembly, and we have these, which can be used outside the assembly. So if we go to our, let's say, we'll do the update one because that's something that we want to support by name and by ID. So let's go for, yeah, this. So rather than taking in a toggle ID, we'll take in a toggle locator. And we'll just call the field property locator. Toggle locator. Locator equals locator. And we will do the same for our remove request because they're basically identical. What the hell is this? Annoyingly, I've only got one full-size USB port on this laptop. And I have a headset and a mouse that I'd like to have plugged in. So I can't do both of those at the moment. Right, so we now have our handler. The handler can be updated to not have, well, this one's a bit weird, but so here we shall pass in the locator. And we'll take this as a locator. Toggle locator Locator. Right, now rather than doing this to load our toggle, we now say var toggle equals locator locate session. That's it. For the time being, I'm just going to assume this always works, so I'm not going to do any null checking yet, but we will need to do that at some point. So now we've done that, this now supports loading a toggle by name or by ID, or conceivably by any other method we come up with, as long as there is an implementation for toggle locator which can load by whatever. So you could do a one for load by state, for instance. Not that that would be particularly useful because you can only return a single one. So now that we have that, we go back to our toggle tags controller. We now have, instead of that, we'll now do toggle locator create. Now, if this was a weakly typed language, could just have two roots attached. I don't know if you can actually attach two roots to one method. It'd be useful to be able to have two roots attached to one method and just say it's either got the GUID ID or this is a string, but as we don't really have the ability to do that, these methods will work as before. Use the age-old design pattern of copy-paste to support our name versions. So it's only these two methods that we need to duplicate. So to make this work, we replace GUID ID with string toggle name on both of these. And instead of ID, we now have name. Oh, hit cursor. Toggle name. Right, and instead of parsing the ID, we just change this to say toggle name. And the method overload is now picking the correct one. So we have identical pieces of code, but because this type is different here, we end up with a different call for add and remove. And we now only have one handler which now supports loading toggles by name or by ID, hopefully. So let's check it actually works. So to do this, we will create a toggle, then we will add a tag to it by ID and then remove a tag from it by name. And to do that, we shall use Rider's REST client. That doesn't exist anymore. So if we start off by doing a GET request to the root of the API, what if I could click the button? Right, there's definitely no toggles yet. So we'll now do a post, and we should give some text. We've already got JSON body, so in here we shall say name is Dave. That's a good name. Okay, apparently hitting enter doesn't submit the request. What does? Control enter. There we go. So we've got 201 created. So if we now take our location header, dump that into the path. Oh, probably help if I did a GET request instead. There we go. So what method did I support? Tags, right. So if we do tags, empty, we shall now add a tag to it by ID, hence this part. Test. We'll do that by putting the tag. So if we now go back to that and do a get, one tag. So now let's change our root and instead do name Dave tags. I don't know if that actually exists as a route for getting. Nope. But tags test should be able to send a delete to this. 200 OK, empty body. So now if we go back to tags Dave, or toggles Dave, haven't implemented that yet either. So let's just go back to the root of the API. It would help if we do a GET request. There we go, we now have one back with empty. So we now support tags modifying by name and by ID, and the methods are annoyingly identical apart from this. So we could probably extract a body for this that's... Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do one commit first. We've implemented something, so let's commit that. First things first, our new magic toggle locator needs to be split into matching files. Or... yeah, I think I'm going to change the name of these actually. I'm going to move the word locator to the beginning, well, near the beginning. That. And the great thing is, because we're using this construction, this is actually only going to affect here, because nowhere else refers to these classes by name. And we could move them to be private classes inside this toggle locator, but that would make them less testable. So I'm not going to do that. And there's also the fact that they have separate responsibilities. One's loading by ID, one's loading by name. So bloating one class with both those responsibilities would be counterproductive. So I'm not toggle locator by ID. Right. So the reason we did all that is that when I split this into separate classes, they all appear next to each other. Let's add our missing trailing new line. Trying to work out what rider is trying to tell me is in error here. There's definitely some red lines on something, but they don't really line up with anything. How on earth did we run the tests if all of these don't work? No, they do work, it's just rider can't find the file because we moved it to a separate file. And for some reason, if you do extract, if you use the refactoring to move a class into a separate file, rider forgets that it exists. So we'll do source Crispin toggle locator star. So toggle implement generic solution. Is it really generic? I suppose it is generic. That's not the word I'm looking for though. It's definitely hiding the implementation of things. Oh, it's probably polymorphic. I can't spell that. Polymorphic toggle location. Right, and what is this one? Yes, these should be failing, because we've got toggle IDs here. In fact, we need toggle locators. Everyone's so quiet in chat. Hope you're actually real people watching. Not spam bots again. Do that. 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 Right. Is that all of them? Update toggle, update, yes. Hopefully these tests will pass, because I mean we've seen it work, so the tests should pass as well. It's a nice theory anyway. Builds are so much quicker when I'm not running ops and streaming. Maybe see if I can find a way to offload capture onto another machine. That sounds like a lot of effort. I've left Docker running, that normally doesn't help things. No. Right, all the tests now pass, so let's do that. Ah, bad white space. Toggle tags controller. Let's see if that did anything or not. There we go. Right. So git commit toggle tags controller. Oh no, it's the handler really. Use toggle locator for loading. So now we just need to go through and do the same refactoring to everything else. And ignore the fact that Ryder thinks everything is broken. So we've done toggle tags, toggle date. That's going to get entirely refactored next anyway, so I'm going to ignore that one for the time being. Get single, this one's great because we can now delete that. We don't need a separate get by ID. Or get by name, sorry. Because we can replace this with a toggle locator. Locator. Yes. Good, that seemed to work. Right. That doesn't exist anymore. I'm tempted to create a type for toggle name as well so that I don't have to keep specifying that it's an ordinal ignore case lookup everywhere. Right, I'll just do that. And we don't need to do that anymore. Well, this one's using the view. I wonder if we should make two methods for it. Because some things need to return the view and some things need to return the actual toggle. And that way, because I wouldn't want to do something like this. Toggle equals message.locator locate session. So we now got the toggle, and then we'd say you find the toggle where the ID matches. Yeah, because if this locator was the toggle name one, it would have just done a lookup in the all toggles view by name to find the ID, so that we could then look up in the toggles by ID to return the view, which is just stupid and horribly inefficient. So yes, let's refactor stuff. Refactoring is fun. So we're going to have locate view, locate view, and locate aggregate. View and aggregate. Yeah, it's good terminology. Right, and as this one's the view, surprisingly, it's going to return the toggle view. Yeah. Right. Now we should have some more errors. I'm going to try and get everything underlined in red before I'm done this evening. Implement missing members, all of them. Right, this one is loading the aggregate, so that's that one. Don't need that method anymore. And the view one is going to be return session dot load projection toggles, not toggles, single or default Let's just do that. View dot, and this is toggle ID, so we've got the ID available, so we can just say ID double equals underscore toggle ID. And don't need that. Right, good. Not very readable because it's a line that's 3 days long. So let's just move these all onto separate lines so we stand a chance of reading it. Using single will default because there should never be any occurrence of multiple toggles having the same ID. But there might not be any one with that particular ID, so we don't want an error for that. Now this one, we shall implement all the things. This here is an implementation of that. Don't need that method anymore. And in fact, what we can do is take this out of the way, right up here. Just return it. And to be honest, now that we've got that, there's no point in that variable. Is there an inline variable refactoring? Oh, there is. Nice. That's typing. We'll do that, which is basically identical to the last one, except we're comparing by name and that. See, that's why I want to put a type in, because I'd forgotten the order null ignore case here. And if I make a type, then I don't have to type all that every time. So now we can just say var view equals locate view session. And then if the view is something, we'll return toggle loaded from that. Otherwise, yeah, good. It means that loading a toggle by name for an update is not as efficient as loading it by ID for update. Yeah, by ID is just more efficient because that's the primary key. You don't have to do an intermediary lookup of going to that view. Right, have I broken things by doing that? Probably. Can't tell because everything's red in the Solution Explorer. Yes, I have broken things. Oh yeah, that was that. But I don't want to do those yet. I just want to commit the changes that I meant to, which was just that small refactoring. So we'll add the toggle locator, diff these. Right. We've only updated one thing to use. Should be fairly easy to find. That one. So this is after the aggregate. Aggregate, add source, Crispin, handlers, update tags. It's the only thing in that folder. Yep. So git commit toggle locator support loading aggregate aggregate or view. Right. That can go away. Now let's actually fix everything that I've broken that I meant to break. So we're not trying to locate the what are we trying to locate here? We're after the view. There we go. Get rid of all of this. Blasted arrow keys. So where I expect there to be a control key on the right hand side of the keyboard, there is now a slash. So every time I try and hit control left or control right, I'm typing a slash, which is moderately annoying. I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually. Right, so that now takes in a locator, which means the REST API should have broken because we've changed it from being ID to a locator. and that now doesn't exist because we choose to locate it. So toggle. I'm thinking a toggle, an overload for this locator that takes in a GUID and automatically parses it to the relevant ID type might be useful, because I'm going to type this quite a lot. 2 minds on that, so I'm going to ignore me for the time being. So we'll take that. This is now the same request, the only difference is rather than creating a parsed toggle ID, we should just take the name in, and I'm going to rename that, because the other one I created was called toggle name, and I like being more specific. That could be the name of anything, it's definitely the toggle's name. Right, state controller, what's your problem? Getting the state by name. Yeah, that makes sense. So again, you toggle name, get toggle request, I think. It was using the complete request, wasn't it? Toggle locator create toggle name. Voila. It's probably the same thing on this one. Or Rider's just pretending there's an error. No, there is actually an error. Yep. Toggle locator create. What would be nice is if we could put some kind of attribute on the toggle locator and then make this parameter here be a toggle locator. We'll look at that later. Shouldn't do too many things at once in one commit, and I'm already stretching that by some amount. I'm sure you can define custom serialization for MVC methods. Alright, oh yeah, I removed stuff from this but didn't actually delete that. I suppose that's another thing about development. Even though I'm recording all of these and am only coding on this while streaming, I still am thinking about this a lot, even when I'm not at the thing. I mean, I said I came up with the idea of this toggle locator and then tried to explain my thinking behind it earlier today when I was sat in the sauna dying after going to the gym. And yeah, I didn't mean to be thinking about this, it just sprung to my mind. It's one of those things where if you go for a walk and you might, if you're stuck on a problem, go and stretch your legs, go to the loo, get a cup of tea, wander around the office, wander around outside, and you'll probably find that the answer to whatever problem was vexing you will actually just come to your head while you're walking about. I'm sure there was a study done as to why that happens, but I can't remember what it is. But it's just nice to get away from things. What's the problem with it? Well, no, I suppose, yeah. It's that I want. Just the toggle name, not the ID. In fact, not very much of that at all. Yeah. Right. That was all of those. And one more toggle locator. Oh, more explosions. That's gonna be interesting. Well, actually, we don't need to support that, because that request doesn't exist. We're returning the response. But we're creating the locator inside here. This is where it would have been useful to have that custom parameter binding. How to set up mediator to work properly. Huh. Suppose I could implement iEquatable on the locator. You could create a new one on here and then just compare that they're the same. That's irritating. We can fix these ones at least. Which will now blow up for other reasons. Yeah, well, let's implement iEquatable on those locators. Although that feels like quite a hack as well. What are we testing here anyway? Get singles toggle state tests. Well, these are the state ones which I know that I'm about to rewrite. So those which are actual toggles. Grr. I have no idea how to solve this in a pleasant manner. Let's do some googling. ASP net core custom param the binding binding custom parameter binding. Yes. I want to do it like that. That's horrible. Create a binder class. Your custom type. Yep, that I can handle. Register in services. Magic occurs. And you have to put it on here, or just do one or the other. Model binder. I mean, if you're implementing a model binder for a specific type, why would I need to... Why do you need to specify it in both places? Surely just by adding it. Yeah, we can worry about that in a minute. Let's implement a custom binder so I don't have to fix these. Right. What did we do here? Locators for things. Right, let's check out a branch for that. Check out branch. What? Locator. Yeah, that'll do. Git save. Git checkout dash. I love that git checkout dash, jumping back to the branch you previously had checked out. Now, hopefully this lot at least builds. Maybe? And while that's building, let's go and have a look at this. So you implement an bind. Create a binder provider. God, this reads like Angular. Need a binder factory provider builder. Wow. Just... Why can't I just add a binder in there? Should be stateless anyway. God damn it. Just going to mutter about everything for now. Right, that's still building. So we want a binder provider, a binder, and then hopefully not attributes everywhere, because I don't like attributes. Right. Not that. Infrastructure. Yes, this is definitely infrastructure-y stuff. Class. So this is a binder provider. Model binder provider. Stupid name. Right, toggle locator binder. I don't like this already, pro. A name. Yeah. I don't see why I can't just. I'm going to mutter about this for the entire time I'm implementing, just as a word of warning. I model binder. There's a collection model binder. There's no model binder provider for that. Right. If the context is null, throw an exception. Why would it ever be null? And throwing an exception's not really helpful there, because you're just going to get an exception on the next line anyway. So I'm going to ignore that and do that. Right. If context dot what? Metadata dot model type. If the model type is really okay, yeah. Toggle locator. Why can't? Oh. You know what I'm going to do? Return this. Otherwise, return null. And now I can rename it and just call it a model binder rather than a provider, which irritates me slightly less. And just implement both interfaces on here. I model binder. Oh look, there's a model binder factory as well. Why isn't there a model binder provider factory builder? Stupid. Anyway. Right, custom binder. If so, check that the type is the same again, which, you know, makes sense. If binding context dot model type, the property must be set to access this property. Wow, thank you. Soundingly not helpful. Yeah, model type. Model type, not type of toggle locator. Just return, throw exceptions. Right. Otherwise, do things. What? Value provider, get value. Parameter name. Can I get away with just using that bit? If this isn't copying and pasting off Stack Overflow, this is grumbling about Stack Overflow. No, what am I doing? Value equals binding. What? That come from parameter name. Get all the. I don't want the properties. I just want the names of the fields. Need the properties. I just get all the parameters from somewhere. Value provider result. Is this? You know what? I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna comment that out. And I'm gonna replace it with a return new. No, return toggle Locator, create, what? Oh no, I have to set that on the result. Binding context dot result equals toggle. Model binding result success. The more I do this, the more I kind of wish I was using Martin Jasper. Return task dot completed task. Let's get rid of the async because we're not really doing an async in here. Task not completed. Right, and we'll set a breakpoint on that. Right, now let's see if this works. Startup. Now register into services, which I think is here. Options. Serve. Maybe not. Services. Add MVC. Model binder providers. Oh, obviously. Model binder providers, not insert. Why would I insert it at the beginning? I don't want it to run at the beginning. It should be the last thing it chooses. I'm going to copy what's on Stack Overflow because that's probably right. Always move it to the end later. New. Right. I don't want to do that because I think it should just work. Probably won't, but one way to find out. Right, where's my toggle? Let's go for one of the ones that we've updated, which is the toggle tag controller. These do to the locator. I don't also know if I can specify two roots on something. I doubt. So let's comment out those so we don't end up with root clashes. Let's do that. Right, as long as the parameter's called ID. Maybe this will work. I don't know. Might just work first time. Toggle locator. Alright, let's see what happens. Probably should have debugged that rather than running it, because I know this is going to fail. Well, technically it won't fail. Just always going to try and load a toggle called WAT. So let's give it what it wants. We'll create a toggle called WAT. So get toggles should be nothing. Post with a request text of the name WAT. Good, created. Toggles. Name WAT. Tags test. And put request, that's the only one I've implemented. Right, so my binder is running, it's just we need to figure out how to make it run in a way that, you know, is useful. Let's debug this. Debug. And we don't need to go through the whole malarkey of making a toggle for debugging this because we don't actually care that it can't locate. I just want to make it parse the parameters correctly. So, Dave. Right, there we go. Right, so this was using a value provider. Don't know what that is. So Alt F8, I think. Yep. So we have two items in the collection, which makes sense. Hopefully one of them is Dave and one of them is... No, okay, that's not what I was expecting. Root query string. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Values. 4. Well, yes, there are 4 parts of the root. Just want to see what they are. Right, so the keys should be ID, tag name, action, and controller. And the values are Dave, test, put tag, and toggle tags. What? Okay, that's the controller name. That's the method name. Those are our 2 root values. Okay, yeah, okay. Right. Can I ask it what the type of that field is? Or what the name of the current field is? Okay, let's ignore that for the time being. Let's see what's on this. Field name ID. Excellent. That's what we want. So I think what we can do is do this. Take that and inspect it. Now we don't have parameter name, but we can do binding stop field name. And that should give us whatever came from the root. Yes, it does. So we shall try and parse this as a GUID, this value. If it parses as a GUID, then we create a GUID toggle locator. Otherwise, create a string one. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So let's stop this running. Action reset. Yeah, well, I did reset it. That can go away as well. So that value that can go away also. So we'll say var GUID equals GUID dot try. It'd be like that. Try parse. Try parse exact. Try parse. Value. Okay, so GUID equals GUID dot empty. If GUID try parse value out GUID. Oh, it's not value, is it? It's value dot first value. Yeah, whatever. Right, so if it passed as a GUID, then we shall do this. Otherwise, we'll do the same thing. I think I've just invented a new form of development. It's GDD, which is grumbling driven development. So, oh, don't do that. Right. It's a toggle ID parse of GUID. Yes, maybe. Otherwise, just use value dot first value. Yeah. But what I am going to do is... Oh, I wonder if this realizes what I'm going to do. Close. Because we are always going to create something even if it's useless. Right. One awesome model binder. Oh, and we proved that we didn't need to put the attribute on things, which makes me happier. Not happy, but happier. The problem used, but not used in any execution path. I beg to differ. I can see it. Right. Let's just run that without bothering with debugging, and now we'll just send random values, I think, and see if it works. And this is twofold benefits if it works, is that I only have to have one action method for each pair of routes by name and by ID, and also the tests earlier, which I couldn't work out how to test. Now, because we're passing in a locator, we have referential equality for checking whether it's the right locator. I think this is killing two birds with one stone. Right, so let's create a toggle this time. We'll give it a different name. Sophie. Right, we have a toggle. Now, what method did I update to use the toggle locator? Put tag. Right. Tags. By name. No, this is by ID. Good, that worked. So now if we do name Sophie by name. Oh, excellent. I'm happy about that. Great. Now, should write some tests for that binder locator thing of doom. Right, this has the same roots as this now, except it's now a toggle locator. Oh, this also means that we can change some other parameters and write some more of these later, because I've got some other things that parse other things into different things. I know what I mean. Booleans to... Or will I? No, because I'm going to refactor that whole state controller anyway, so... Yeah, I'm just going to grumble on senselessly. Right. And we can do the same for this as well, actually. Name toggle locator. We can't because this one doesn't use toggle locator yet. Right. That'll come. where is our toggle locator binder provider factory builder? I can't think of any other names for it, but hey. Right, and we want to test that this thing actually works. Because, I mean, it does, but... Right, so let's create some tests for it. Rest test. Tests. Binder. What's new? Those. Doesn't take any constructor arguments. Read only. Right. Fact. When parameter is not a toggle locator, when parameter is valid GUID for locator. Do I need to bother putting that? Alright, let's say parameter value. There we go. Happy again. Right. When parameter value is anything else, really. Because, I mean, no matter what you pass it, it's going to return you a locator, which just won't do anything useful. I mean, if you pass an integer to a string parameter, Web API is still going to bind it to a string. So, is a string, yeah. Stuff it, that'll do. Right. What do we have to pass if there's a binding context? New default model binding context. That was astoundingly useful IntelliType right there. Thank you. Bet you I can't hit enter anymore. No, I can. Okay, never mind. Oh, wait. Right, I'm sure we need to pass some data into this somehow. Can I set things on it? Is it just settable? That'll be nice. Right. If the model type is not toggle, so okay. Model type equals type of int. Yeah, okay. How are you supposed to set that then? This stop model metadata. Can I set that? Abstract, but settable. Right. Model metadata equals. Okay. Oh god, I don't want to do this. What does it implement? Is it a difficult class? I can just use and substitute then. Maybe. Let's try substituting it. I don't want to have to specify 4 billion dependencies. Substitute for model metadata. Maybe that works. Let's do this as well. RV data metadata dot model type turns type of. I wonder what this is going to do. Let's just run it, see if it actually works. I like the direction ASP.NET Core is going in, but sometimes I feel they make things unnecessarily hard to test. For example, needing a model data binder provider and a context that then takes 400 other required parameters, which I'm not interested in. I'd write my own, but I'm sure I'd do much worse. Cannot instantiate proxy of class, could not find a parameterless constructor. That the only constructor. Yep. Right. It needs one of these. I bet that doesn't have a parameterless constructor either. Ooh. For type, model type. Maybe we can use that. Type of int. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. Maybe. Wow, could this build any slower? Come on, just pass. Hooray! Great. Now we need to actually, add some assertions to this to check that it's not doing anything. So, where's my model meta binder provider context builder? There it is. I can just assert that the result is null because nothing else should set it otherwise. Right, so it's that I need a value. So var context, that. Leave that there for the time being. Context.result should be null. Maybe. Unless, of course, it gets set to something by default. Should be null, but was. Oh, which should be failed. Okay, so it's failed by default then. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Should be model binding result failed. Does that take any parameters? Okay. Right. Now need to do a lot of other things. So this wants to be a toggle locator. And we need a field name. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as our value provider returns something. In fact, we don't need a field name, we can just set this up as an expectation that given a call will return anything. That made no sense whatsoever, did it? Value provider. Oh, we can substitute this one. Values equals substitute for iValue provider, not an iValue provider factory. Values get value arg any string. String, I can spell, returns a valid GUID. And as we're going to want to assert against this, can we even assert against the GUID? No. GUID. See, this is encapsulation. I'm encapsulating things so well I can't even assert on them. No, not 2 string. Oh yeah, it doesn't return a string, does it? It returns a thing. New value provider result. Okay, not a property. String values. Wait, can I just do that? Apparently, right. Right. So now it should be success of something. Model. Can I get that model or something? Okay, it's common to both of them, right. Model should be of type. Now this one should be a toggle locator by ID because we've given it a GUID. Probably should also just prove that success. Is there a success flag on this? No, apparently not. What does it do with this true and false value? Oh, that's is model set rather than success or failure. That's weird. Should be true. Should technically do a should satisfy all conditions on that, but I don't want to. It's only 2 properties. They should always be the same set of values, because you only ever set them through that success or failure method. So this time we're just going to give it a string that is not a GUID. That. And this should now be by name. And I will be amazed if these work. Huh. Nice. Oh good, my toggle locator works. I knew that. Right. So git add force Crispin rest infra Crispin rest tests, and we need startup as well, but preferably without bad white space. Oh, before I add that, I'm going to try sticking this on the end rather than having it at the beginning of the list, because most of the time we're not going to have a toggle locator as the parameter. It's going to be a string or an integer. So I want those cases to be hit first, I guess, maybe. Unless, of course, try to build. Yeah, this might not work. I don't know. Depends how whether it encounters the first type that can handle the parameter value, or if it goes via the type on the method argument. So let's just hit that endpoint. 500 internal server. Which I think is what we expect. Not create an instance of toggle locator. Yeah, it does need to be at the beginning. I never know. Grumble, grumble. So let's add the startup. Yep. And white space. My binder. Enter is not fixing. There we go. Rest infra. Right, so rest implement custom model binder to bind toggle locator parameters. Right. I'll delete everything in favor of magic. So toggle tags, dollar, use toggle locator parameter so we don't duplicate method. Cool. The question is, do I have the energy to keep doing this? Or not? No, I think I'll stop there for this evening. Something else that I learned a while ago is when you're developing, you should always stop while it's still easy to keep going. Don't stop when you're frustrated, because then you'll come back the next time and you'll still be frustrated. If you stop while things are going well, next time you come back and you'll just ease back into doing things. In theory. But yes, also stop when you're frustrated, because then you can go for a walk and solve the problems while you're sat in a sauna or wandering around a lake or something. So I'm just going to push these to GitHub. Right, as always, if you've got any questions, send me a tweet. I'm at Ponderdom on Twitter, and feel free to clone the repository, see what I'm doing, laugh about it, send pull requests, whatever. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the stream and have a fun rest of your evening.